Oh, wait a minute. Come team. There's one more.
Rude, eh?
Come team. All right, we're ready.
Okay, so welcome all. We are Fantastic Four, and we'll be discussing developmental psychology of Piaget. And just to show that we're using the tools that we have learned in the class, so we acquired the photo from the snapping tool. And well, we are starting with the quiz stamps or pretest as a first step.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's quiz time again, but we do this differently from previous group, okay? So we'll do a real-time pretest using an online platform called CUTL. I don't know if you are familiar with this. So I sent you a link earlier, so you could log in there, and you could use my name to log in. And so I see one student is there. Right, very good. Right, so the first question for you is the process of incorporating new information into existing knowledge is known as. You have four options there: accommodation, assimilation, organization, and equilibration. Okay, so there are 3 students and 2 answers. Right. So let's move on to the second question. The process of changing the existing knowledge to deal with a new object or situation is known as. So same 4 options. Well, okay, the last one, combination of above processes that drives the child development is. Okay, let's look at the performance. Okay, so we have 3 students, and 1 student got 100%, and 2 others 33 and 67%. Right? Okay. So over to Michael.
So we'll return later on to the post-test to double check whether the knowledge has been confirmed and validated after the presentation. And we will present 3 aspects: the background of Piaget, the key concepts and stages, as well as how it is possible to apply his theory in practice. First, Piaget is considered a father of child psychology. He was born in 1896, and actually his academic career began very early. At the age of 10, he published the very first paper on biology, actually, in the field of biology. And he continued his career in publications. In 1918, he defended his doctorate in natural sciences. So he has, in theory, he did not have background in psychology or sociology. Nonetheless, he has been reading a lot in those fields, and he, for example, read Jung and Freud, and it is at the time that he was doing doctorate that he started to think about the general theory of social learning. And by the age of 25, by the age of 21, he has published 25 papers. So he has been very efficient in academic background, and therefore his ideas most likely were pushed into something comprehensive. And this something comprehensive is considered total system. Because of his background in biology, he considered the learning process as a system, which refers to the general system theory, today also known as a complex adaptive system. And he believed that individuals, like every one of us, is not an isolated node. We are constantly interacting with the environment. And due to this interaction, we are acquiring new knowledge. And this is how he perceived the entire developmental psychology. And each aspect, each segment of his theory is included into the system itself, the assimilation, accommodation, adaptation, and the equilibrium as the most important element in his theory. So this is how it might be illustrated as a system, Piaget's system. So now I will turn to Mark.
Thank you very much. So you also saw a couple of terms there. I'm going to play a short video that will explain 3 of those terms to you.
Schemas are categories or the basic structures we use to organize information. They're almost like folders. In this case, the categories are about vehicles, cars, and trucks. Information is sorted into these schemas or concepts. Each new piece of information has to have somewhere to go, a folder to fit into. When new information can fit into one of the schemas that has already been created, like cars or trucks, it is placed there. This is called assimilation. Sometimes we come across new information that does not fit into any of the already existing schemas. An Escalade isn't a car or a truck. That means a new folder or schema has to be created so this information has a place, like SUVs. This process is called accommodation. The Escalade now has a folder to fit into, a schema it belongs to. Now new information can continue to be sorted into schemas using assimilation. And the process continues.
Alright, so those who may have gotten the 67 and the 33%, you got a little tip there of where you should have been. Okay. So just to give another example, this one is using the child who thinks that anything that flies is a bird, all right? The equilibrium stage is that point at which the child realizes, like, I know what I know, and I'm quite happy about that, okay? Then something new is presented where they now see a plane, and they think, oh, it's a bird because it flies, okay? When they realize, no, that's not actually a bird, it's a plane, it's that it doesn't have feathers and whatnot, that is when they go through the process of accommodation to create a new schema, and then they can assimilate as they proceed through the processes. So you're always going from accommodation to assimilation to return to this point of equilibration. That is the overall Piagetian concept of child learning. Okay. Now, as we said, Piaget did also spend a lot of his time dealing with how children learn. So I will now turn over to my 5th invisible colleague, who will explain about childhood learning and the 4 stages of growth.
So an important part of Jean Piaget's work was his look at how children learn, which he broke up into 4 basic stages of cognitive growth. The first stage from birth until 2 years of age is called the sensory motor stage. During this time, children learn primarily by doing things, and they began to develop goal-oriented behavior. So if a child had to learn about a hole, they understood that you had to dig a hole. So they associated digging with holes, not necessarily realizing there may be different ways to create a hole or different reasons to dig, but they have at least associated those behaviors together or that behavior with that outcome. As the child grows up to about age 6, they then have the representational or pre-operational stage. During this point, the child begins to learn how to reflect primarily by using images, so they can associate what a pen looks like or what a book looks like, and they can learn about a pen or about a book from that perspective. So when they then see an object, they can identify it based on the image that they call to mind. As the child gets older, from 7 years until about 11 years, they enter the concrete operations stage. During this time, the child has now developed or is beginning to develop their abstract powers, where they learn how to assimilate into the schemas that they have created at that time, and they can now begin to fit the world into these in their attempt to learn and understand the world around them. And as they get older, to 12 or 15 years of age, They further develop these reflective and abstract powers as they begin the process and continue assimilation and accommodation in order to approach the adult form of learning.
All right, thank you. Boys that no one has ever heard before. Appreciate that. So just to sum it all up, this all does come into experiential learning as well. So the first two stages, the sensory motor stage and the representational stage, this is where the child is now beginning to learn about everything in the world. So this is the accommodation phase. Because they have everything they see is now a new schema they have to create in order to learn about the world around them. As they get to the third and fourth stages, so the concrete operation and formal operations, they spend a lot more of their time there at the assimilation stage. And it is that overall balance between those two stages that we call equilibration. Okay? All right, so with that, I will turn over to JP, who will take us through.
Thanks, guys. So, we really want to appreciate the differences, though, in terms of Piaget's theory. So, in terms of what we found in terms of research, he was great because lots of studies afterwards were able to reflect and support his theory. But what they find is this really wasn't really related to adult learners. It's really, so the age limit is until 15. So the question is that how does it impact for learning before and then undergraduate and of course postgraduate. So this will really affect us per se in this class. So in terms of the classroom teaching applications for the younger age group for its actual purist theory, it really has an importance in terms of active learning and the association with the environment, key impacts on that. And of course, appreciating, even in this class, we have different stages of development, different pace. So when you're a teacher, you understand that not all the students will go at the same time. So therefore, you have to go the ones a little bit slower, different facets of education and processes. Of course, in terms of general concept, this impacts in terms of how you want to present in your learning style. So it might be use some props, some visual aids, or you might present problems that have some more critique and analysis, specifically to actually attract that aspect of abstract thinking based on what age group you're going with. So if you're going with a younger age group or an adolescent, you'll know which type to go with, according to his theory. But how about the connection to curriculum for us? So if you look at it, it actually is a reverse of curriculum. If you can understand how you want to have your learning style, you can decide from there what the assignments are, and you're actually going back up. So with his theory, he talks about the end result, how it impacts towards the end, and you go reverse to your learning objectives and your learning goal for the first one. So you're gonna have a reverse of your curriculum. So it really impacts a lot on curriculum and theory. But the main thing you really want to know is, how does it impact for you guys? I mean, it's university teaching. Does it really relate his theory from how many years ago? So if you look at it, if you look back and reflect, we have been doing this. So for instance, in the first week or so, we actually had to do the orientation to have a prerequisite, so for us to go afterwards to be able to add on new information to it. So therefore, there is some maturation with that prerequisite. We just come here and just say, okay, let's just do a video presentation. We wouldn't have that base, we wouldn't have that standardization. In addition, we actually realize that according to, as we're going through, you feel the difference in terms of the past few weeks, where you saw the difference in the cognitive development, so you learned, and yet you grew cognitively. It's a different phase, so you see the maturation there. And of course, you can tell, as you go to school and you go to your classes, you decide, are you going to assimilate this, accommodate this? How am I going to use this new theory so it works for you in that? So similarly, as your students go through, as you have gone through a discourse, you appreciate how his theories impact and reflect on what each course is, even at undergraduate and postgraduate level. And of course, the relevance to technology. So, in terms of the summary, and it's a summary, but it's me trying to get some feedback from you guys. So we went through, we spoke about the 4 stages. So the first stage is, just want to help with you, so sensory motor. The first stage in terms of the 4 stages we went through, and the second stage is pre-operational. And we can always get some feedback here. Any more? Huh? All right, yeah. And then we all right. Then we're gonna go on to the, we had the concrete and the formal, and of course we went through the stages of cognitive growth and the impact on university learning. So, we'll go to our first time.
So let's see how much you learn. Right. The same questions.
Yes.
No,
Oh no.
right. So
That's what.
Yeah? Okay, that's okay. Alright. So, what we'll do instead, you can ask the same question, you can actually, if you want to, you can actually have the panel put their hands up in the air, put it on here.
Are we gonna wave too?
Technology doesn't always work quite the
Okay.
way we want. Yeah, but like the same question, you put their hands up, yeah.
right, the same questions. Yeah, the first one is let me access it and find.
That's an unusual place to
Yeah?
Okay. Sorry for the glitch.
So while Dr. Satish is going through that, I'm just gonna make sure we summarize again. So just remember, in terms of written one topic, yeah, okay. So we started with a simulation. So remember, simulation is when we add a concept to a new schema. So whenever you have, you add new information. Yeah?
Okay, so we're on. You can access it now by using my name. I see one student is already online. Right, the first question is the process of incorporating new information into existing knowledge is known as.
Right, you just got that, right?
Right. The second question is the process of changing the existing knowledge to deal with a new object or situation is known as. And the third one is combination of above processes that drives the child development is. Right. Okay. So let me see the results. Yes, you all got 100%. Well done.
So as you see, the app works from your phone.